I have about 10 minutes to try and talk you through the highlights of a book that cost me about 4 years to write, so I think it's best if I just dive straight in. This slide highlights the central issue of my thesis, the relationship between new media and the new museum. Looking at the words that I have put in the circles, you can see the similarities between the ways that these two concepts have been described: democratic, interactive, participatory, etc. Looking at it from this way, it seems that new media and the new museum are complementary. Both new media and the new museum are also concepts that have been created in opposition to an understanding of old media or traditional mass media and an old museum or the modernist museum. In the case of old media, simply think of the television. One show created by one production company sent through the air into thousands of households in exactly the same way, where each family is simply viewing and receiving this TV show passively. Similarly, the old-fashioned museum, or the modernist museum, transmits a single message from one sender to multiple receivers. Originating in the 19th century, the modernist museum remains very prevalent today. Just think of an exhibition created by a curator, one single linear story, a message for you to receive and properly understand as intended. So the similarities between these different types of older media, the television and the exhibition, are clear. And also the similarities between new media and the new museum or the post-museum are clear. In thinking about new media, you can think of an online application like Twitter, where thousands of users receive and send messages and are also able to comment on and make changes to these messages. In thinking about the new museum, you can think of it as a space where not one curator-led message exists, but instead thousands of stories by visitors and different content creators are also given space. And again, a dialogue between these different meanings exists. So obviously, I haven't been the only one to see the similarities between new media and the new museum. In fact, a rhetoric exists which suggests that if we want to change the old-fashioned museum into the museum of the future, we should use new media to do so. Because new media as a tool has many different affordances, like the ability to change and respond, that would allow the modernist museum to transform into the post-museum. And there you have it, the issue at the heart of my research. The title of my book is A Chance for Change, illustrating that key concern. Does new media provide a chance for the modernist museum to transform or change into the museum of the future? At the end of my talk, I will briefly tell you about what I found out. But first, we need to make an essential pit stop in speaking about the necessity of changing the old-fashioned museum. Because you may perhaps think, why do museums need to change? What if they just want to tell a single story? And what if that is a story that I want to hear? These are fair questions and they are key to my study. Underlying my entire argument is this central point, that I do believe that museums need to change. There are two main reasons for this. Both reasons tie back to another central notion in my work, visitor meanings, by which I mean the different ways in which visitors understand an exhibition. For example, when my friend Marijn and I both visit the same exhibition, as we often do, and somebody asks us what it was about, we will both highlight different things. The reason that we do so is because we have different personal contexts. This concept refers to our previous knowledges and experiences. Because we have these different contexts, we understand new information in different ways. My research has contributed to a larger body of studies that has shown that these different personal contexts are crucial in the way we understand the museum message, to such an extent that no visitor will understand the museum message in the same way. This is the first point. A museum may try to present a single narrative, but few people will understand it exactly in the way that it was intended. In other words, the modernist museum doesn't work. The second point ties into this. These people who will understand the message are people that are similar to the people that have produced this narrative, because their personal contexts mirror the personal contexts of the creators. In the case of the Modernist Museum, these creators are the curators, who are often highly educated, on the wealthier side of society, older, and probably also white. The message they produce, without thinking about the audience, will resonate with people who are similar to them, highly educated, slightly older, wealthier, and white. And as a result, everybody who is not these things will understand this message differently. And this is the important point. They will know that they have not properly understood the message, and they will feel excluded because of this. They will feel that the museum is not for them. It is not for people who are not wealthy, highly educated, and from a particular background. And as a result, which we can see happen in contemporary society today, museums are mainly visited by highly educated, wealthy, older, white people. And this reason is why it is crucial for the museum to change. Museums are wonderful storehouses of our society's most beautiful objects, and this cultural heritage belongs to us all. Yet if museums remain modernist, these treasures will only be appreciated by a small part of our society. So it is a necessity that we first accept the inadequacy of the modernist museum and then move towards attempting to transform into a museum of the future, where all visitor meanings will be able to thrive. And perhaps new media offers such a chance for change. All right, that was the pit stop. Back to the main road and the final part of this talk. The way I've chosen to study this question, whether we can use new media to make changes to the museum, is by focusing on the role of digital technologies in processes of visitor meaning making. In order to access those visitor meanings, I conducted a visitor study at 2 museums, one in Amsterdam and one in Glasgow. Through analyzing about 30 in-depth interviews with visitors, I distilled 12 different ways in which visitors make meaning in these exhibitions. These are different types of approaches. You may make meaning through referring to knowledge that you already have, or to an experience that you've had. But you may also make meaning through comparing something to a contemporary situation or by using your imagination. Subsequently, I looked at which of these approaches were used at normal instances in the museum, such as looking at an object or reading a text. And then I looked at which of these approaches were used at new media instances, such as an introduction movie or an application. And then I did a whole bunch of interesting statistics and analyses, and what I concluded is the following. As always, within academia at least, it's complicated and it's nuanced. New media has certain characteristics which give it potential to assist in transformation. However, when a museum does not have an intrinsic visitor-centered drive, by which I mean that it does not, as a whole, aim towards being a museum of the future, using new media is not enough to transform the museum. When the museum is still pervaded with modernist practice, new media is not able to have any effect. Instead, it simply continues these modernist practices. So new media does not have magic power, which instantly transforms a modernist museum into a museum of the future. However, when a museum is already aiming to be more visitor-centered, new media is able to assist in such a change. Examples of this may be seen at the Riverside Museum in Glasgow, where new media does indeed offer a chance for change. In conclusion, when the museum actively dismisses its modernist heritage, new media may be used as a helpful tool toward becoming more visitor-centered and may indeed offer a chance for change.